This is our full driving review of the Mercedes CLA in the new generation. Here on Autogefuehl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars with Thomas. A detailed look on exterior, interior and the driving experience. Today also with the German Autobahn, also with some high speed. We'll see how that one performs right there. Everything of that in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go. Headlamps start with halogen, yeah they still do, then optional LED and then optional the multi-beam LED also for more high beam performance. You can see this new generation has this cut-out hood placed a little bit more on the back part that makes it a little bit sporty as for a look, a little bit sharper headlamps so to say. I think the design is a little bit less sensual than the previous generation actually. And the whole car has become about 5 centimeters wider, so you see it does have a little bit bigger stance on the road. This one here is the AMG line. You can also see with the diamond pin grille there in the front. This is my favorite Mercedes grille. What do you think? And Jupiter Red is our color for today for the main car, but we'll also show you some other colors. (4.69 meters, 15'4" or 184 inches is the length of this new CLA. That's 5 centimeters longer than the predecessor CLA and 15 centimeters longer than the A-Class sedan. So that would be the difference. A-Class sedan and this one here share the very same platform. Front wheel base platform, then all-wheel drive is also rear on demand. That's different to the C-Class. The C-Class is a rear-wheel driven platform. And this one here, the new CLA, has basically the same length as the C-Class. So again, a little bit longer than the predecessor. Yes, we're slightly longer than the A-Class sedan and same length as the C-Class. Now you maybe know where this car is actually at. And design-wise, this one carries still the design focus with those very sensual lines, especially in here, this Coupé style ending. Although some, let's say, Coupé fans, they say a four-door can never be a Coupé, but still they call it that way. 19-inch rims, those ones are biggest ones available here in this AMG line, also with a black style. Those ones here are optional. Then the Jupiter Red color, pretty much screaming out. I think those strong colors really fit to the vehicle very well. And then this very flat roofline. Will that really work with the interior and the headroom? Have they improved that? We will soon find out. In the rear we can see a very well integrated design. Everything is basically as it would be one raindrop. I think that's very beautifully done. However, if you compare it to the predecessor, you see that the previous generation was more in the swinging lines, again more sensual. So I think this one here lost a little bit of its core CLA identity, but maybe it will sell better because the previous CLA maybe was too much sensual lines for someone. I don't know, we'll see how that one plays out later. The lower exhaust tips, those ones here are pure cosmetic and actually they are, there's nothing really in there. So the real exhaust is in the lower part and the AMG line features this black diffuser in the lower end. So what's under the hood? Today, the 250, that's a turbo petrol engine, 2 liter of displacement, 4-cylinder. 225 horsepower. Actually a good compromise. This is also a real Mercedes engine, and we'll also take it out with some higher speeds and also take a look at the consumption. Both will be very interesting, I can promise you. You can also already get a CLA 35. That one then is the first AMG light version, so to say, with 306 horsepower and already an acceleration figure to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour below 5 seconds. Then there are also some smaller petrol engines available. There is the CLA 220, 2 liter with 190 horsepower. There's the CLA 200, a 1.4 liter with 163 horsepower. That one is supplied by Renault. And then on the diesel side, there's the 220D, 2 liter, 190 horsepower, and a 200D, 2 liter, 150 horsepower, both by Mercedes. And then the small diesel 180D, 1.5 liter with 116 horsepower, the latter one again supplied by Renault. And all-wheel drive are available for the bigger engines, for this one here, for example, too, and that's also the one that is equipped here today, and they use dual clutch transmissions for the automatic gearboxes. Now we're heading towards the interior with the key. You know that one from the Mercedes E-Class, also now for the smaller models. Keyless entry also, put your hand on the outside or inside to open and close. Interesting, by the way, let's test the door closing sound. That doesn't sound too good. And if you don't push it too hard, that's typical, by the way, for the A-Class or for the compact class platform front and the rear, that doesn't snatch when it's being closed. You really have to put it a little bit harder that it really closes. Here, the frameless doors. So you have this window line right there, as Coupé have that. Here, a four-door Coupé, if that is a Coupé. Again, I'm not digging deeper into this theoretical discussion. Artico leatherette on the top part of the door, wrapped tightly. That's very beautifully done, also with the red contour stitches. AMG line. Then here's some microfiber insert. Also, again, high build quality. That's cool. Well, we don't have galvanized window levers. Maybe for that price we could have expected that. But at least they have some nice clicking, nice haptical functions. Also, big bottles will fit at the inside of the doors. That's good. And this brushed aluminum insert next to the seat control at the inside of the doors. 3 memory function when you ordered that option. Then this interior, again, the AMG line, very sporty steering wheel. You see the full digital setup. I'm telling you soon more about the screen choices you basically have. And those turbine vents are also really key to this interior. This is one of the main styling elements. And those seats, you get also normal seats, normal sports seats for a CLA with separated head restraint right there. And those ones are the optional, even sportier sports seats with the integrated head restraint. They look cooler, also with the rest contour steer. They are also available with a lot of different seat material choices. The CLA offers, like this here, microfiber on the inside and leatherette on the outside, but also a full Artico leatherette seat. It is also possible if you want something to wipe clean easier. And also a fabric on the inside, cloth on the inside, and leatherette on the outside. For the, not for this seat, but for the other seats. So you have plenty of seat choices and also a lot of interesting materials, and they are all animal friendly. That's really cool. So I can just say very well done, Mercedes, as for this aspect. As for the comfort, I would advise you, at least if you're a little bit taller, not to go for the sport seats with the integrated head restraint, but for the one with a separated one, because those ones here are a little bit narrower for the seating. For smaller people, that might be suitable. If you're taller, then rather go for the one that has not the integrated head restraint, and you'll be better off as for the seating comfort. Headroom-wise, I'm one is 86 or 6'1", and it gets quite close in the CLA. It has the lower roof line, and this one here is also equipped with a panoramic roof. I'll soon show you that as well. Interesting also, the steering wheel can be adjusted in height and reach, and it's one of the smoothest processes I have ever experienced here when you're just doing it with one hand, and there's no resistance in this mechanism whatsoever. So also interesting quality as for this aspect. Maybe you can even pick it up on camera that the car is a little bit wider. Yes, visually they have also trimmed this very wide layout, but indeed you have about 4 centimeters more shoulder room, both front and in the rear. Here this brushed aluminum inset, then the good quality Article leather red with the contour stitches, very well done. Those turbine bands, I think they're love or hate. I think they're quite spectacular, and this is also, one of the key elements. Then this glossy black around that, I think I could live without that. Maybe a matte surface or something, I would prefer that. Then those screens here, this is the top setup, 10.25 inch. As base model, it starts with 2 7-inch screens. So they're always digital, but a little bit smaller in the starting versions. And again, this one, everything you could have possibly. And then you see they also form one visual unit then. They also have this proximity sensors. You can see it right there. Soon we're going in depth on this infotainment system. It is via touch, but you can still control it from the lower angle. And also using the thumbs. Here, for example, you can also go back or to the home menu right there again. And you would use your left thumb, which is now my right thumb because of the microphone, for this other screen. And then you can also change something of the information in there. Here on the steering wheel, left side would be for cruise control, and right side for the volume, or also to pick up the phone. Climate control is still classic, also normally reachable with a nice clicking sound. So changing temperature right there, or also then the vent strength. In the lower area, inductive charging pad. Oh, there's the music back again. Inductive charging pad, then USB-C device, or maybe also here with an adapter, also possible. 2 cup holders. Then this pad here where you can slide around and also control the central infotainment system, driving selector, for example, too. Then you have the middle armrest with, again, 2 more USB-C supplies and some more room. Left side here, the digital instruments. You can change something in the middle view, for example, right there, to put it full screen for the map. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? And then you can also change the styles overall, for example, or have the trip consumption meter information right there. Telephone, you can activate or deactivate the assistant systems, or have the the ACC visualization there, styles and display. This one would be, for example, changing to a sport mode if you prefer that, with a little bit yellow layout. Or there's also this progressive layout that would be a little bit more elegant. Well, I think I would rather go for the for the very classic one. Or what would you actually choose? The last one you can pick is the so-called understated. That would be a minimalistic view with the analog digital time, so to say. The head-up display is also quite cool. Shows the speed and also some GPS commands and the allowed speed. And that's how the augmented reality function works. The front camera gives a camera display here in the GPS, and then you see some signs on it and exactly know where to turn. Now the infotainment system, as I showed you earlier, you could also use the touch right there, or you can scroll through with the lower pad that also gives a haptical feedback. You can also hear that. Very interesting. And you can also use the voice command. I'll soon show you more about that. First of all, let's browse in the map. You see that it goes quite quickly, responsiveness, and also the visualization is really top-notch. On the top part here, you can always also access the home menu. Apple CarPlay or Android Auto is also available. You would access it right here via apps, smartphone, and there you have the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay if the connection is active. You can also at the same time use the normal car GPS. And comfort function, this is also, there is a seat kinetic function that the seats move a little bit up and down or back and forth when you activate that. It's not a real seat massage, but it helps to relax a little bit more on long-term trips, that the seat has some movement in there and that relaxes you a little bit more. What about the voice control? I think it's even a little bit better than in the BMW, because when you say, "Hey Mercedes," "Hey Mercedes,"
how can I help you?
Set temperature to 23 degrees.
Temperature is 23 degrees.
Hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
drive me to Berlin.
The category, please.
Destinations.
I am starting route guidance to Place des 18, Moors, Berlin.
Oh, yeah. So there was like one step in between. In some other case, it was going directly. So that's also the most use case for me. I'm always using that now to set the destination, for example. But here with the Mercedes system, also can do a lot more. For example, "Hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
activate the seat heating at the co-driver side."
Okay, I'm switching on the seat heating on the driver's seat.
Okay, probably just understood co-driver. I think you have to go passenger seat, then it works also for the other side. But here, the seat heating is also on now. So a lot of interesting things you can do. Last but not least, "Hey Mercedes, please, please open the sunroof."
Could you repeat your input, please?
Open the sunroof.
I'm opening the roller sunblind on the sliding sunroof.
And even at daytime, you can see something of the ambient light, for example, here at the inside of the doors, right at the transition between the aluminum and the leatherette. Or also right there around the inner rings of the turbine vents. Now let's get to the rear, also frameless windows. You see it opens, quite wide. That's okay. Also a nice soft leatherette cover at the rear doors here. So good build quality, microfiber insert. And you can get in easier than before, yes. I recommend to put the driver's seat a little bit higher, that you can put your feet a little bit better underneath it. And here, as a tall adult, it does exactly fit when I sit, behind the driver's seat when I would be driving. So it is somewhat close, also considering for the length of the vehicle. The wheelbase is the same than a normal A-Class hatch or sedan. It's not a room wonder as for the rear compartment, but definitely better as in the previous generation. Headroom, at the moment, I'm still ducking down. Yes, but they have solved it a little bit that you have more headroom. So when my head will now be disappearing into the Coupé roofline. And well, my head does hit the ceiling, but for a shorter way, I could sit like this, like a little bit with a round back. That's okay. So it's better than before, but still, it's not the optimum. So if you're not going for a CLA, but rather for A-Class sedan or A-Class hatch, it's a little bit more comfortable as for your head right there. Other than that, you also have the nice microfiber leatherette mix here on the rear seat, also with this integrated head restraint. That's quite nicely done. In the middle part, you also have another 2 USB-C devices. And from here, you can also have the best view through this panoramic roof. That is one of the advantages right there. But again, the CLA would not primarily be bought then for transporting rear passengers. The trunk is now also very interesting. You can open it here, for example, with flipping the logo. We know that from some other brand, don't we? Then, the biggest difference is also the same with the new A-Class generation. Here, this entry to the trunk is 11 centimeters wider, so it's easier to put things in. However, there is a big loading sill that goes then further right there, but you need this height actually that you can still store at least something in. Interesting also, as for the boot capacity, the A-Class hatch starts at 370 liters, the A-Class sedan is at 420 liters, and this one is at 460 liters. So it has more boot capacity than the other A-Class siblings, so to say. 10 liters less than the predecessor, but again, you can put things in easier now. So like this also, and you can see height-wise, I mean, does it fit like this? Yeah, you see it also fitting in vertically. So, I mean, you can store a lot of stuff there, is no problem. You can also slide it right through, but of course not the most practical one. That's typical for a sedan. As for the measurements, in length, this is a little bit more than 1 meter, like 1 meters and 5 in length right there, and in width, it's also slightly over a meter. And so over that's, I think, quite acceptable. Just here in the height, a little bit limited, about 50 centimeters. You can also flip those seats. And to flip the seats, we have to unleash them right here. Same to the other side, right there. And then we have to go around, but you have to push the front seats more to the front first, that this flipping mechanism does work. So you can also just use the middle part to flip for this is a ski hatch, otherwise in 2/3, 1/3 split. And there we go. But again, you have to put the front seats to the front. As we would have been driving as tall people, it did not really work to flip the rear seats forward, because the front seats would be more, you know, just blocking the rear seats when they fold. And then, yeah, we can go to the middle and have, you know, some 2 meters right there, but not really to the front passenger seat. I could not sit there at the moment, so that would be rather than 180 in meters or something in length you can use when still tall adults are driving. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Mercedes CLA in this new generation. Let's start up this CLA 250 2-liter turbo engine. And I want to start here while being stationary parking to show you also the camera features in action. Here the rear view camera plus the drone view from above, an optional system. You can see here, don't run over those people. Those lines also adapt and really show me where the car is heading to, and it is really a crystal clear resolution, pretty cool. You can see here to switch the gear, reversed or D. I think it's really good to have it up here. It's somewhat American style. I really like it. It's really easy to control. You don't have to reach down here, especially when you switch from reverse to front, normal drive again and back again and so on. This is really easy to handle. Now we get off the pavement here, and already there I feel it is really not stiff as for suspension, because this one here is equipped with the optional adaptive one. You know, there's the standard suspension, then there is the 50mm lower sport suspension, which I would not go for unless you really want a very stiff ride. It will cost you some, some comfort in everyday driving. This one here, the adaptive suspension, is always a very good pick. So now we're going to leave this one here. Does he need my card? Probably this parking card right here. Oh. Hi, need this one?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Please.
Thank you.
Welcome.
That's why I also have those holders here in the top sun visor. So, and we'll continue on further. This one here also with the 4MATIC, that's the all-wheel drive at Mercedes, is their brand name for that. So we have basically a front-wheel driven platform, a front-wheel driven car. And then on demand, there will also be torque on the rear wheels. I mean, yeah, rear-wheel driven cars like the C-Class, that would be the platform difference. A C-Class, unlike the CLA and the A-Class and the A-Class sedan, C-Class is rear-wheel driven. When that one has all-wheel drive, it's rear plus front. Here it is front plus rear. Or in the C-Class with a permanent setup, so to say. So you do feel it is somewhat front-wheel based and front-wheel biased. Yes, you do feel that. However, in normal driving, it doesn't make too much of a difference actually. Especially when you are in good grip conditions and so on. Here you can see the blind spot monitor already active in the side mirror. So when I know that someone is next to me, and probably this It's an A4 and an A6 all-road. It's really hard to differentiate then at first sight. We'll probably soon overtake us, or try to overtake it. No, it's getting behind us. But then I can show, there's again with the Porsche, there again the red triangle with the blind spot monitor. This one is really a very important option you should go for. The standard autonomous emergency brake is standard equipment with the CLA, and then you get an extensive version with a better pedestrian and cyclist recognition, which is then optional. We have tested that one in the Mercedes B class. There's some, really extraordinary long demonstration of those assistance systems in the B class review. I will also link that one. The CLA itself, with this new A class platform, it feels a little bit, stiffer from a chassis, a little bit sportier to control, but also more grown up, subtle, calm. The noise insulation is also really cool. We're already driving about 80 kilometers an hour, so something 50 miles, and it's still super silent. And if you just have this perspective here, looking at me, for example, or also to the front from this camera, look at everything you see from both angles. Would you actually expect that this one here is a compact vehicle? The smallest Mercedes platform. A couple of years back you said, oh, Thomas is sitting in an S-Class and driving that one. But no, it's a compact vehicle. On the disadvantage side, you still feel that it's a compact vehicle when you're a taller person. So even the difference A-Class to C-Class or CLA to C-Class, I would always go for a C-Class because it gives me more comfort in driving. If you're smaller than me, just height-wise, then it won't be such an issue. You can sit properly, as you see, yes, but just from the driving feeling, I think also the seats are a little bit softer in the C-Class. They are a little bit stiffer. Still, considering they are sport seats, they have an interesting form, and also we have the nice microfiber surface right there. So on the motorway here, we can also set the cruise control. This one here is fully equipped, this vehicle. Also a problem because the price goes really high. Double the base price. You could almost reach that with every Mercedes. And here, even my foot off the throttle, the distance to the car in front of me is being kept, and that is really done quite flawlessly. There is this automatic lane change. Wow, it's still working here. That's astonishing. We gotta check that one with the experts, because as from BMW we got the information that the automatic lane change is not allowed anymore in the EU from just to build that one. But here it still does work. You've seen it. I did not turn the steering wheel myself. Very interesting. I gotta check on that for sure. So, but if you buy this one in the US, you are definitely getting it. You're allowed to do that. If you're getting it also in Germany, I'll recheck that again. This would be the highest building status also of this adaptive cruise control. So the assistance systems all working pretty flawlessly. And again, this rolling comfort here also with the adaptive suspension is really good. You can change the driving modes. Eco would be reducing the throttle input a little bit to give you more fuel savings. Then comfort mode would be most comfortable setting with the suspension. Sport mode stiffens the suspension just a little bit and also changes how the dual clutch transmission here shifts. So it shifts up later, turns up the gears a little bit higher. And then there's also individual where you can set the engine or the springs or the steering individually. Here, by the way, the cruise control, which I've set, automatically wants us to accelerate to the next speed limit. It was from 80 to 100. Now, then the cruise control was automatically accelerating, but I was canceling that myself. You can always do that because I want to show you the acceleration to this motorway, to this next motorway part here, when I really floor it out. So let's check if I'm still in the sport mode. I also can see it in the middle display here with the S. And if we just make really feel that the adaptive suspension stiffens the car. Now it's like a little bit definitely feel the difference. And let's accelerate from 75 to 100 kilometers, so like, you know, from 45 to 60 miles, something like that. And let's go. That was already it. Now we're already at 110. And I think the sound was quite decent, you know. There's not an AMG, but also a 2-liter turbo engine, and for that the sound was quite low frequency. Also due to the all-wheel drive, when I'm really flooring it out, I have more torque at the rear wheels. That also felt quite harmonious. Let's do a lane change and accelerate once more again to see. Oh, I'm really amazed by the sound. There must be something also that has to do with the speakers, right? The engine itself can't do that sound, can it? But I mean, it really good to listen to. And also, you know, the steering here, I criticize it quite a lot with vehicles. Maybe I'm also a little bit too sensitive for that, but that's just what I feel, that in this very low degree angle regions here is a little bit loose, and then when you're in this region, then it gets actually good, and that also gives you a quite good feeling. Mercedes tends to create... That's a problem of a car reviewer when you're talking about Mercedes, then the automatic voice input gets activated. What's the weather in Berlin?
What can I do for you?
How's the weather in Berlin?
Currently it is cloudy in Berlin with a temperature of 8 degrees.
No, why not? So that's how you can also interact with this voice system, but probably I should not say the brand name of this car anymore while driving, otherwise I'm getting interrupted all the time. So let me do some lane changes to show you the steering feeling. With Mercedes steerings, you often have to steer a little bit more than, for example, with the ones from the Volkswagen group. But this one here, for the CLA, is always set on a quite progressive level, I have to say. That's very interesting. So you see, also when I'm doing a lane change, I don't have to steer too much, actually. Predecessor of the GLE, sorry. So now we have unlimited speed here. Welcome to Germany. It's not possible everywhere, but in some parts. And of course traffic, so has to be unlimited plus low traffic to be able to do something real, you know, speedy then as for this. Let me drop back to about 100 kilometers and then floor it out again so you can see once more something from the engine. So still in sports mode, and let's go. That's 150, so it was 100 to 150. Now speed is being reduced again, but see here, the brakes actually reacted quite well. I like that. Now we're also going to change the motorway, and I'll go back to the comfort mode, because when you're driving on the motorway here, it's definitely more comfortable to stay in the comfort mode. It's really interesting. They did that with the A-Class facelift of the predecessor generation, where they made the span between comfort and sportiness wider. So you definitely feel more difference now when you have the adaptive suspension between the comfort and the sport mode. And with the sport mode, it's pretty cool. And when you're on the countryside road and you have very good, like this one here, this is new asphalt here, that's really fun to do that. That's pretty cool. But as soon as it gets a little bit rougher, then the sports mode gets a little bit uncomfortable. So only for sporty, good roads, then you can enjoy that pretty much. Other than that, when you just want to relax a little bit more, have more comfort, go back to the comfort mode, and then here, seeing those waves that were on the road, how the car, sometimes you get even like some, not exactly air suspension feeling, but something close in. So suspension wise, well done. Steering also feels very good then. Noise insulation is very good. Keep distance is set here on the rear. Probably some, didn't even say AMG, maybe some third party tune, something. Well, Now he's shown us who's the king. But we are actually kings because we can also enjoy being in the car, not only drive fast. But we did both today. So now we can also again get to a little bit more speed. And well, I chose to have somewhat an Autobahn focus here today because when we're driving abroad, especially also in the US, sometimes we cannot go that high speeds, or also in Portugal or Spain, 100 is the maximum speed. And you know, we have some decent landscape routes, quite often more beautiful than in Germany. But here when we're in Germany, we can, you know, quite often get a little bit more Autobahn experience. That's maybe then also interesting for you. Also, again, 150 kilometers now, it doesn't feel like that. And it does not feel like we were driving a compact vehicle. It has, meanwhile, a decent length here, the CLA, so it has the length of a C-Class. So from the sovereignty, I like to use this term, it brings on the road, like the confidence it brings to the road, it really feels like a very grown-up car, rather like a mid-size vehicle. And yeah, now we can drive really fast and see how that one performs. Now we're at about 180 kilometers already, so closer to 100 miles. And still, it's decently silent, and also how much control the car still delivers me. So everything they've done here with driving is really very well done. So now we're all the way free. And there's still something coming from this 2-liter turbo engine. Now at 200 kilometers and 125 miles, it doesn't even feel as I would be pushing the car too much. So that's still perfectly comfortable. Both suspension and everything is really good. So I think, I'm hardly driving that fast in Germany. Most of the time I don't have any chance, and you know, of course it's also about safety, because it's, at some point someone could maybe cross the lane or something. So I usually limit myself to 160 kilometers an hour, even in Germany. But here it's a good test. Had some free road here now and could safely also test that one. And I think this high-speed test also showed what this car is capable of. So again, very impressed what I've done here with a compact-sized platform, but definitely lengthwise already a mid-size vehicle. Is there any difference from the CLA to the A-Class, B-Class, or the A-Class sedan? Well, they all come very close. They are technology-wise basically the same vehicles, same wheelbase, so they're definitely all very close. I'm not sure. I have the slight feeling, I feel it somehow, in my, my own Thomas car sensors, that this car is a little bit longer and maybe a little bit more calm on the road. Maybe it's also the setup they picked for that one. But definitely they all come pretty close. And the A35 we've tested in the A-Class, definitely a stiffer suspension. I think I would prefer this one here, the A250, with the standard adaptive suspension, to make it a little bit more comfortable ride. So if you ask me, the car as it is here right now, with the micro seats, for example, and also then with the A250 petrol engine, I think overall a very good compromise. You maybe also seen, the GPS commands here. It's quite a good overview it delivers. So I know actually where I'm going to. I also see something small there in the digital display. That's also possible. So I can keep track of the GPS, and so far it leads us very well. So, and now I have not reset the consumption, after, then just drove very calm or something. So at the moment I have motorway, but also like 2 big accelerations, also high speed, then also some slower speed, and the consumption meter says 9 liters on 1 kilometer. That's about, that's traffic limit. That's 26 mpg US and 31 mpg UK. And I think considering we did everything now, that's comparable. That's totally normal for those 2-liter engines in compact platform vehicles. We also have the same consumption, let's say, with the Volkswagen Golf, for example, and also recently with the Kia Ceed and 1.6-liter turbo engine. So that all comes quite close. But that also means if I would now reset it and just go a little bit slower motorway, I could surely also, that's by the way, I'm not sure if it's, no, I think you cannot see it anymore. The stadium of Bayern Munich, also right next to us. You can surely bring it to 8 liters on 1 kilometer, so you can also score some, some about 30 mpg US. That should also be possible if you just reset it and then go cruise control, just steady on the next motorway. Very interesting ride. Again, great noise insulation, great steering, suspension, awesome, comfortable and sporty at the same time. All the quality you see here, infotainment system wise, what you can control, also changing the temperature is still possible in that way, but I could also say, it just with the voice input as I've shown you earlier. So awesome. The only thing I would still go for a C-Class, it has less infotainment system as soon as it's not updated. So at some point, new C-Class generation, then it will also get the new stuff. But C-Class would only be if you're a tall person and then have a little bit more seating comfort. But because still I think the seats are a little bit too small for tall people in this vehicle. That's the only thing I can criticize. Everything else I think is really top notch for this segment, definitely. And now to our conclusion for today with the Mercedes CLA. This new generation is not too different on the exterior if you compare it to the previous one, but still a little bit more refined, a little bit more modern, also not too different from the Mercedes A-Class sedan, and they're also technology-based, pretty similar. This one here a little bit more design focus and a little bit longer. On the interior you now also have some decent space if you compare it to the predecessor, especially the rear. There you can actually sit now. That was a problem before. Also more practical in the trunk area because the entry right there is also wider for all the luggage. Driving wise, it performed very, very well. Great suspension here with the adaptive one that was tested here today. Sporty and comfortable at the same time. Great noise insulation also at higher speeds. And his A250 engine had a good performance. At the same time, pretty low in consumption. I tested that one later as I announced, just cruise control motorway and not so much acceleration, and then you could also bring it down to about 7 liters on 100 kilometers. That's about 36 mpg US and about 41 mpg UK, and that's actually pretty decent for this size of a car and also for this engine. And when you tune it up a little bit more, then we had the consumption figure as we stated earlier, if you want to have a little bit more fun. So overall, great performance of this vehicle. 2 things. The sport seats here with the integrated head restraint are a little bit too uncomfortable to me. Might be a personal thing, but I would then go for the base seats. And I don't see too much differences from the A-Class sedan to the CLA here. Not sure what they thought about in the product management there. This, again, as I said, a little bit more design-ish and a little bit longer, therefore also have some more space in the trunk. So that might be the deciding factor, I don't know. Please tell me your opinion in the comments and tell me also, would you rather go for a C-Class or stay here with the CLA? Hope you enjoyed the insight for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and see you next time.